The changes coming to our communities are going to significantly alter them, and unfortunately, it's probably going to be for the absolute worst. BC's new small-scale multi-housing plan
is scary.
It's scary for residents, and once implemented, there's going to be a path of no return. I went deep into exploring this new legislation, so you don't have to. In this video, you're going to learn about the plan, or lack thereof a plan, really because of what's missing from it, and how it's going to change our communities. I'm also going to answer the question of how this is going to affect your neighborhood as well. My name is Darren, the team lead with the Germyn Group, a real estate team in Surrey, British Columbia. This channel is dedicated to providing expert tips, marketing insights, and real estate advice to help homeowners, home buyers, and home sellers make informed decisions. If you find the information in today's video valuable and useful, consider subscribing and make sure that you are on the front line of everything you need to know to help find higher levels of success. So this video all stemmed from a tweet that was just posted by the Minister for Housing, Ravi Kahlon, celebrating his government's most recent success in the legislature. He posted, British Columbia just became the first province in Canada to pass small-scale multi-unit legislation, allowing 3 or 4 units on lots. This will enable more housing opportunities and the best use of our existing infrastructure. I want to note real quick that this video is not to hate on the provincial government for all of the great things that they've done. I want to note too that this video is not to hate on the provincial government. They've done some incredibly good things on housing, like the most recent introduction of legislation announced regarding major development near rapid transit, where the law is going to require municipalities to designate transit-oriented development areas within 800 meters of rapid transit stations and 400 meters of major bus exchanges. This is awesome. They've done some incredible things for housing. They've done great things for the community. They've done great things for the climate. But here's one of the challenges is, of course, they've got a majority government. The BC NDP has a majority government. So this means that all the great ideas that they have get basically automatically pushed through, but so do the bad ones. I want to build up the problem a little bit that we're experiencing in British Columbia. BC is expected to welcome an estimated 217,500 new permanent residents between 2023 to 2025, nearly double the historical average immigration levels. BC must build 43,000 new homes annually over the next 5 years just to account for the rising immigration alone. A report from CMHC said BC as a whole would require 570,000 new homes beyond what is usually built to achieve anything resembling affordability by 2030. That figure represents 71,000 new homes being added each year, every year until 2030, over and above the already projected housing growth needs. In 2022, 51,407 new units were added across this province. Clearly that's problematic, right? We can agree on that. When it comes to building housing, it needs to be accelerated. It needs to move faster. And there's been some good things announced about how to accelerate housing. We're going to do a video on this very, very soon, which is a great reason to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And then that way you'll be able to find it when it gets released very shortly. This is going to be all about off-the-shelf designs that will streamline the permitting and building process later on, which is a great way of taking action to reduce the delays and limitations that hold back housing projects. When it comes time to talk about accelerating and building more homes, however, we need to address that historically in British Columbia, there's municipalities everywhere that have zoning regulations that make it incredibly difficult to build homes that work for people. For years, through this, what the government considers outdated zoning bylaws and rules, this has meant that we've seen an influx of basically condominiums or high-rise buildings or single-family homes on traditional single-family home lots throughout our communities. The latter being something that's likely out of reach for many first-time buyers or new to the market, or just those that haven't had the chance to build up a lot of equity in their current properties yet. This has led to a shortage of homes like duplexes, triplexes, multiplexes, where these size of homes and some of the things they offer can address what is called the missing middle. Just passed on November 30th of this year was the Small Scale Multi-Unit Housing Initiative. The government estimates that modeling future scenarios cannot account for unforeseen circumstances, the changing nature of housing, real estate markets, and other factors. However, preliminary analysis indicates the province could see over 130,000 new small-scale multi-unit homes in BC over the next 10 years. So what is small-scale multi-unit housing anyway? It includes things like secondary suites in single-family houses, detached garden suites or laneway houses, triplexes, townhomes, and a word that you probably haven't heard before called houseplexes. This is also going to allow permits for secondary suites and additional dwelling units on properties. Permitting for 3 or 4 units, depending on the lot size, on traditional single-family lots and duplex lots in most of BC communities. Additionally, permit 6 units on traditional single-family lots and duplex lots near frequent transit. Now, I know that was all a mouthful, but I want to make sure you caught the last part of what I just said. So I'm going to tell you again. Permit 3 or 4 housing units on traditional single-family house lots. Additionally, permit up to 6 units on traditional single-family house lots that are located near transit. If you're following along at home, that means that your neighborhood is going to start significantly looking different. This means that local governments can no longer exclusively zone neighborhoods for just single-family residences. Moving communities along from really long and stretched out rezoning processes to build triplexes or renovate a single family home or unit into multi-units. So why is this so scary? Why might this be such a bad idea? Well, remember at the start of the video where I said it's important in the details what is missing? Well, here's some of the things that are missing from this plan, and they're nowhere to be found. Parking. Where are all the cars going to go? Right in their own internal document released on single-family multi-unit housing, it states, recognizing that parking is a need in areas farther from frequent transit, the province will be putting forward direction around parking dependent on lot size and proximity to transit. For single-family multi-unit projects closer to transit stops with frequent service, parking minimums will decrease. For projects that are within 400 meters of these transit stops, there will be no minimum parking requirements and parking will be determined by home builders. Excuse me? There will be no minimum parking for anything close to transit? So you potentially would have the ability to have up to 6 dwellings on one single family lot and not account for one single car for any of those units. Let me paint a real quick picture for you about how this is a problem. Have you been to Clayton in Cloverdale lately? Some of the homes that have been built over the last 10 or 15 years in Clayton include a coach home. Many of them have basement suites and then of course a primary residence upstairs. These homes only offer 3 parking spaces for the entire residence. That means all 3 units. You cannot find parking in Clayton anywhere. And these are homes that have 3 units that offer 3 parking spaces. Imagine if those didn't exist. Our roadways are not parking lots, and those people are gonna have vehicles. Well, where is that parking all gonna spill out to? Yeah, you guessed it, you're paying attention. It's gonna all end up on the road. Here's the next. Let's talk a little bit about schools in Surrey. The Surrey School District released a survey recently about how to address the overpopulation in our schools and to try and plan for the future, trying to think outside of just the standard, let's add a portable if we get more students. This survey sparked outrage across parents and teachers alike. It was incredibly poorly received and very frustrated teachers and parents voiced their opinions. Surrey Schools says it's seeing an average of 2,400 students join over the last 2 years compared to 800 new students per year in the previous decade, a 200% increase in school enrollment. On November 20th, the school district sent parents a survey asking for their input on long-term educational strategies to manage the ballooning enrollment numbers, with some proposed solutions including hybrid learning, tri-semester schooling, evening classes, and busing students to other schools. Parents lost their minds, and so did the teachers. We are already having incredible challenges with our school system because there's not enough schools built and there's not enough room for the need that all the students have in this province, especially in the Lower Mainland. Next, What about healthcare in BC? Well, how's that going? A 2022 Angus Reid Institute poll suggests 59% of BC residents said they found it difficult to access a family doctor or didn't have a doctor at all. I can absolutely relate to this. Have you tried getting an appointment with your family doctor if you have one recently? By the time you would be able to get in for your appointment, whatever ailment you may have has been existing for about 2 weeks already. You're probably healed or better by the time you actually have access to see your doctor. And imagine that was your children that were sick. Among those with a doctor, 18% recorded it was easy to get a doctor's appointment, usually taking a day or two. 41% said they usually have to wait a few days, but it could be sooner if needed. Another 41% said it usually takes at least a week or more to get an appointment. Now that's just going to see a doctor, but let's think about the situation in British Columbia when it comes to hospitals and hospital wait times. What about the challenges we've had with first responders accessing people who need immediate help, like ambulances? Speaking of first responders, we need to talk about the Surrey police as well, or do we? You don't even want to know how badly the RCMP needs police officers in Canada and British Columbia. Now, I know we're transitioning, or at least we think we are in Surrey, that we're transitioning now to the Surrey Police Service, but don't be fooled in thinking that we are going to have enough police to service our city. We need many, many more. Here's a few other considerations I want to give you as well when we're talking about adding all these new people to our communities that's not going to be planned out for like it is under the current zoning bylaws, rules, and public consultation. We need to think about transportation. How will all these people move around without crowding the roadways and existing intersections? We also need to address our utilities. Can our utilities and services handle all of these extra people? There was recent upgrades done to the utility services in my neighborhood where over the course of 4 square blocks, they just had to upgrade some of the piping in the ground because it needed new infrastructure. It took 18 months to do. That's 18 months of having a construction crew out in front of people's homes, blocking traffic, creating zero access through certain routes, and generally being completely disruptive on the entire community that relies on those roadways. We need to consider green spaces and public areas. All this added density, well, how are these people even going to get to these places once they get there? And obviously they're going to be crowded, but are we going to be adding buses so everybody can get down to White Rock Beach because, well, they won't be able to drive, there won't be anywhere to park. It's so incredibly important that we consider this infrastructure because if you are just able to add these dwellings and make a single lot into 4 or 6 dwellings all over the community, that means the infrastructure does not get the opportunity to try and keep up. The planning does not try and keep up. Whereas under zoning regulations, it does because it has to make sense to be added to the community. Maybe we're fooling ourselves though. Maybe this will be well planned out. Maybe builders won't take up on this initiative because there's not enough profit in it. Absolutely not. Think again. Builders are absolutely going to build these types of homes because it's going to be incredibly profitable. Why sell 1 home on a piece of land when you can sell 4? Now, you might be asking yourself, well, maybe those homes might be a little more affordable. And here's the reason why that's not going to be the case either. Since we know that these homes that are going to be built are going to be brand new, well, we have to compare them to new properties that are being built all over. And for this, I mean, obviously in terms of pricing. A new condominium in Surrey could easily average out at about $900 per square foot, while losing shared or common areas like parking garages, lobbies, hallways, elevators. When you buy a detached property, you are gaining the price of the land, as well as the added infrastructure, which is going to be spread out over a smaller amount of people. A 7,000 to 8,000 square foot lot in Surrey last year was assessed just for the land value alone at approximately $1.3 million. Divided by 4, that is $325,000 per person in land expenses alone. When you build a tower or a condominium, you can stack many, many people on top of a smaller piece of land, whereas if you do this with a single family lot and you can only get 4 or even 6, you've got a much smaller group of people paying and sharing for that portion of land, which is going to make the cost much more expensive. So these properties are likely going to be more expensive and the builders are going to gravitate towards them. You're likely going to see fourplexes start popping up absolutely everywhere. Now, I don't want you to leave this video thinking that there's nothing that can be done about this. Should we focus on adding density to the areas that make more sense? Those would be the areas that are great for transportation needs, such as close to major roadways or rapid transit. These are areas that are incredibly walkable. Maybe they're located close to major shopping centers, as an example. Does it make sense to do like what we've been doing, to build up and add more people to the areas that can handle the higher density? So what can be done about this? I don't want you to come out of this video thinking that our hands as a community or the voting public are completely tied, because they're not. We can choose to accept the fate, we can choose to improve it, or we can choose to eliminate it. And that all starts with letting your local MLA, letting them know that you're not cool with 4 to 6 units being added on single family residential lots. You know, when preparing for this video, I actually asked ChatGPT to think of some of the infrastructure challenges that this may cause, just to make sure I wasn't going to miss anything in this video. It spit back something in its introduction and something in its conclusion that I thought was so good, I wanted to share it with you. And said, when adding density to a community, several key infrastructure considerations are crucial to ensure that the area remains livable, functional, and sustainable. Livable, functional, and sustainable. It also added in the conclusion, these considerations are interdependent and require careful planning and coordination among various stakeholders. One of the biggest stakeholders that the government needs to consult with on this is the public. That's you watching this video. That begs the question. I would love to know what you think about this new small-scale, multi-unit housing initiative. Do you think it's going to make homes more affordable? Do you think that it's going to be a good thing for our communities to radically increase the density, and not radically increase the density of community, because of course these aren't going to get built overnight, but it's certainly going to radically introduce the density of your neighborhood if one goes up right beside you. Let me know in the comments what you think of this, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. Hey, look, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank you for subscribing, because you want to see that next video we're releasing as well. And I want to appreciate you. Looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Cheers.